Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to break down the trial marriages. In episode 3, we saw the couples from the Ultimatum Marry or Move On season 2 make the choice of who they wanted to do the trial marriage with. However, before we jump into that, we all saw at the end of episode 2 how crazy of a cliffhanger that we got. We found out that Lisa and Brian would no longer be part of the experience because Lisa found out that she was pregnant. Now, throughout the beginning of the first episode of, or throughout the beginning of episode 3, we get them breaking down what happened, the conversation between Lisa and Brian, and all of that. Now, however, I wanted to say this real quick, okay? When we get back to the table, throughout the seasons of the Ultimatum, anytime there's something that's going on, the conversation is always directed by Nick and Vanessa. Now, if you guys remember and recall, there was a big ordeal because Vanessa was massively obsessed with everybody having babies, right? It was a petition to get her kicked out of the show, out of hosting the show, and it was weird and awkward. If you it didn't come to me until about halfway through, watching it, Vanessa wasn't there. She was not at the table. Nick had to break the news, and not only did Nick break the news, it was just Nick there the entire time of the trial marriage figuring out situation. So it's crazy to me. I wonder if Netflix pulled the trigger on Vanessa not being at the table. I was blown away when I came to the realization. But when we went back to the table, Trey spoke that he says he isn't surprised that she didn't show up. He said after the cocktail party, we weren't shocked to see them leave. Roxanne brings up defending Lisa and being more, and it just being more than she kind of expected. Raya speaks up and says it was awkward with her at the bar after she left. Alex speaks up and says maybe she knew. Well, that's an interesting way to think about it. Roxanne said she hoped that they don't rush into the marriage because a baby's on the way. Nick kind of jokes, is there anyone else pregnant? This was whenever I realized that Vanessa was not at the table. I'm still blown away by this scenario that I think that they completely left her off the table because of that. Nick announces that they were about to pick a new partner. If they choose each other, they will move in together. Trey talks about his time with Ryan. He said she made him think, and runs down she is beautiful and she has more or less grown up like him, and that they shared so many values together. She opened his eyes to see more of what he wants and to get married even more. Trey picks Ryan. His choice was easy. His choice was kind of made easy with Lisa leaving. Ryan said she immediately noticed how down to earth and easy to talk to Trey was. She said she said he was the boy version of her. James is looking on in frustration, but Trey has had good communication that she's needed from James, and she wants the built-in best friend. Ryan picks Trey in return. She says nice things about him. James and Raya are looking on and not even sure. He said he feels good that you recognize those things about me. Raya speaks up and says when Trey leaves, she looks for him, but when she leaves, Trey looks for Ryan. She wasn't shocked. So she knew that he would pick her. Raya said he has a lot of walls, and that James made her feel very comfortable, and she has to typically worry about what she says. She never has to worry about what she says with James. She doesn't feel that and doesn't feel judged. She stood up, chose James, and she picked him because she felt like she wants to marriage and kids, and it's easy to see that with him. James speaks up, saying he struggled to open up and how he and Ryan have always had that issue. But with Raya, it came so much easier. She listened, made him feel heard, and she said, I feel the same, and she blushes. James picks Raya. He said it's really curious what a trial marriage with her would look like and is excited to see what happens. Ryan speaks up, saying she's always been an open book and doesn't understand why he can't talk about things with her. Awkward. So it's kind of crazy. Basically, everybody's having a trial marriage with somebody else that's your significant other. It's kind of crazy how that kind of lined up with it. It's definitely interesting to think about where Lisa and Brian would have been in the scenario, because Raya was very much with Brian and Lisa was with Trey. So like, would that have, like, what would have that thrown into this loop here? Kate talks up Antonio, says she felt heard by him and realized he is looking for the same and doesn't always get that. She said that she sees how hard Antonio works, and Roxanne gives the biggest eye roll ever and says, "Oh, we're boosting the guy's egos, aren't we?" That's hilarious. Kate picks Antonio. She said she's looking for someone to push her and talk about things that she wouldn't in the past, and he does all that. Antonio says to be a good wife, you have to have an open line of communication, and Kate pulled that out in him. He said he felt like he could open up and dig through his shit, and it took him off guard. She said, "I appreciate that you're willing to open up." Roxanne says that it was a hard pill to swallow and only experience an introvert and the other guys speak up saying the same thing. She said, "Maybe I don't bring out that extrovert you love to be." He said it's because it feels like he always has nothing to lose and doesn't like his back against the wall. He's afraid of losing Roxanne. Antonio said he could see Kate being his wife because he knows they will hold each other accountable to be the best version of himself. Alex stands up, says they're glad they are together. He said he's excited that he would date her in a weird way. Roxanne, she's excited because Kate can be the soft person that Antonio needs. Alex said Roxanne is a polar opposite from his ex, and she is a driven and go-getter. He said that she was reserved but marriage, but she changed her thoughts after them meeting. They are both very much on the same team. He picks Roxanne because they will push each other and jokes maybe not push each other off of a cliff. Kate speaks up that she didn't know that there was a personality thing that they were missing and wants him to figure that out. Roxanne said she wondered what was lacking because Alex said he is ready for marriage and has a never give up attitude, and he has a business and entrepreneur, and she said that he feels seen by me. Roxanne, he says he is literally the perfect person, and as that happens, Antonio takes a massive chug of his drink. James said he wants to say something to Trey. He said, "We are trading partners," and he said there is no ill wills, and he thinks it will benefit both of them for the better. Trey says, "I agree." What a fucking weird moment that was. I'm just going to be honest. I never will be Team James. I'm not going to break down all these episodes for you guys, but never have or never will be Team James. I think that he is a jerk. I think he is controlling. I think that he's just not a good person. But Raya and James are together. Ryan and Trey, Roxanne and Alex, and Kat and Antonio. This should be an interesting rest of our season. I want to hear your thoughts on who you thought maybe we're going to pair up. Who do you think would Brian and Lisa have picked if they would have stayed on the show? I want to hear it all. I want to hear what you think about this season as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode, and I will talk to you guys soon.